Tuesday, July 22nd. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Today on the show, let's talk July gardening, folks. Horticulturist Todd Boland is here from the Munn Botanical Garden. He's got tips, the lines are open, and we'd love to get your grow season updates. All right, off and running. Folks, the lines are open, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us, 709-327-8206. The Signal at cbc.ca. So, Todd, what would you, like the rain in St. John's right now, is this, like, I mean, I know it's good for gardening because it's wet, but unlike, and folks, yes, with the wildfire situation, we're very thankful that other parts of the island and province are getting some good doses. Just hit the on button there. There you go. Getting some good doses of rain. Yeah. So which is obviously really
with all those fires. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
they were
we're
really
talking about gardening today, but yes, we're aware and thinking about it.
Oh, definitely. I'm jealous in some respects that they're getting so much rain because we could certainly use it here in St. John's.
Yeah.
I think for the month of June, we were like way, way below our norm for precipitation. I think it was only like 4 inches of rain we had for the whole month of June. And July hasn't been any better, perhaps even worse. We seem to, here in St. John's, it's funny, all these lows seem to be going up through the central part of the island. Yeah. Despite the fact that they got the bad forest fires up there, but they seem to be getting off and on again, thunderstorms that pass up through there. But they just don't hit here on the Avalon. I'm not sure what's going on this summer.
Because last June we got drenched. When was it? Was it last year or the year before? Because there was a...
I can't remember. I know July was dry. July and August were dry last year and the year before.
Because it was like we had a bunch of rain. I'm thinking maybe it was last year, and then summer, like the real summer started, and it was dry.
And then it was just dry. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's unusual for us to get it so dry in June. June is usually, okay. It's July and August. That's the time you're crossing your fingers hoping for some rain here in recent years. But it started early this year. And it doesn't seem to be, letting up anytime soon here, at least not on the Avalon. I was up to the garden today. I figured, it was a nice sort of, we had a little drop of rain last night. And it really was just a drop. And anyway, so I was doing some planting up there because I've been putting it off, waiting for the ground to get a little bit of moisture. Pure dust. Pure dust is unreal.
So, like, what kind of a dose of rain do you need for it to be like?
So you need. In the guides will tell you want an inch of rain a week. Right. Okay. Or sorry, 25 millimeters a week, and you don't want that. Now the ground is so dry. If we get 25 millimeters in a big downpour, it's always going to run away. Right. What we have out there now is sort of what you want, because it's just like a really heavy drizzle, light rain. But you want this to last for like 24 hours, right? Because this is slow enough that it'll soak into the ground nicely, more like a sprinkler, much the same idea as turning on your own sprinkler. There's no point of having big downpours now. The ground is so dry, it's just all going to run away, right? So... What are we going to? When we might get it in September. We'll probably get it in October when we don't want it.
Yeah. We'll get it eventually.
We'll get it eventually. That's the one thing you can be sure of around here. We're going to get rain at some point.
As we, there's a couple of emails. I've got a couple of questions. What's going on at the Botanical Garden right now, other than you watering flat out? Yeah, like this. That's my life, is just watering. The big thing now, I guess, is there's not a lot of workshops coming up, but on the Thursday evenings now, we're open in the evenings, and I do believe that there's kayaking now taking place on the pond on Thursday evenings and Saturday and Sunday afternoons. And I know this Thursday is going to be music in the garden. Thursday evening. Oh, that sounds nice.
So, which would be a nice feature. And
what kind of music? Do you know?
I couldn't tell you.
Not death metal.
It's on our website.
Okay,
it's on our website. And I'm terrible because I just
Vivaldi, Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. But I know it's two ladies.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so live music.
It's live music.
You're not popping into a CD or a cassette tape.
No. Okay. It's real music. Real music. I don't know if they're from the music school. Possibly from the music school.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. Oh, no. This is. It's. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely wonderful. But like I say, for me, I mean, I got my head stuck in the ground and stuck in the watering can and all the rest of it. So I really don't know what's going on.
Do you listen to anything as you work and garden, or is it just no podcast, no music,
nothing,
really
nothing. I mean, some of my students, I think they have their little earbuds in when they're doing the work. I don't. To me, I don't know. It's I could, I suppose, but. I guess in fairness, we're getting guests coming through the garden.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and they see you watering, so they know, okay, you're an employee there. And then they start asking you questions. And, so I suppose it doesn't look very good if you're there, with your earbuds in.
Yeah, you're like, excuse me, listen to Phil Collins. Yeah, I don't have time for your questions.
Right? So, no, I don't. I mean, in some respects, I find the watering almost therapeutic.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of standing there back and forth. It just becomes a little bit monotonous, perhaps. But at the same time, I find it relaxing if the water is good, if the water pressure is good. But the problem at the Botanical Garden is that our water comes from Oxen Pond. And if you're down in the main part of the garden, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
But if you're up around the main field center, up by the parking lot, that's a long ways for that water to try to go from the pump at the Oxen Pond all the ways uphill.
Yeah.
300 or 400 meters to get up to the main building. So my water comes and goes and comes and goes. And, so when it goes, it's gone for like 5 minutes. And so then you got to, you might do a little bit of weeding while you're waiting. Next thing you know, the water comes back on, then you pick up the watering again, then it goes back to a dribble, then you go back to weeding.
Sounds like a middle-aged watering system.
Oh, my God. Well, see, in fairness, this idea of droughts in the summer is unheard of.
Yeah.
We never had this. I mean, I've been at the garden for 20 years now, and it's very, very rare back, like, say, the last 15 years, very rare that we ever had to water the garden. It was usually enough rain that took care of it. But now, seems like every summer, July and August for sure, and this year, starting in the beginning of June, it's just water. So
when did you start? When did this start?
First week of June. I was out watering.
For the last couple of years, though. Like when did when were you like, wait a minute, this is different?
Well, I suppose it was probably 3 summers ago was the first summer that it seemed like I'm just watering. I'm not doing anything else but watering. And it was fine, Danny. Like, I'll do the watering. I get the students to do the weeding. So that's fine. It works out okay in that regards. It's easier on my back if I'm watering than if I'm bending over picking up weeds. But it's like that summer, it's like, oh, this is a one-off. Geez, this is really unusual that I got to be watering every day. And then last year, it was like, oh, my God, this is happening all over again. And now this year, it's like, yeah, okay. And
here we are.
And literally, it was the first week of June. I had to start watering already. The ground was getting dry. And it's like, oh my gosh, what kind of summer are we going to have if I'm out the first week of June watering?
Yeah.
Right? And literally, because the problem is we have plants at the garden, one plant in particular, the Himalayan blue poppies.
Yeah.
And they need their soil to be evenly moist, and they don't like to be too hot. So if it's a hot day, and we've had a few, we've already had several days now up at the 30-degree mark, which is unusual in itself, then I'm out watering whether the ground is wet or not, just to keep the plants cool. But then I'm also watering them every second or third day to keep the moisture levels. And they bloomed okay, not as good as they have other years, because I think the weather's been just too warm and dry, even for that, even when I am watering. But now I'm still continuing to watering because I'm trying to get seeds, because we sell the seeds up at the garden.
Of course.
And we bring in a fair amount of money from the seeds, right? So it's good. It's worth to keep the water to them so we can collect them, we can gather a good crop of seeds. But yeah, it's still, like I said, it's a lot of work. And then, like I said, they're just one example, right, of plants up there. And we have so many weird and wonderful plants. This year, for the annuals, I'm growing portulaca, which is a succulent. Like I haven't never grown portulaca in years, and they're working out perfect. I don't have to water them. They don't mind about the drought, and they're looking absolutely spectacular. And it was a bit of a, just a pure luck that we end up. I was anticipating another dry summer. I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to try portulaca this year now. I've grown for years and see what they're like. If it gets wet, oh well, they'll be horrible because they don't like the wet weather. But this weather is turning out perfect for them. So go figure, right?"
That's fascinating, and also, disturbing.
It's
a few layers there.
There you go.
All right, folks, Gardening Day. I'm Adam Walsh. This is The Signal. Todd Boland is here from the Munn Botanical Garden. The lines are open 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us 709-327-8206. Emails, thesignal@cbc.ca. I've got a couple emails to get to shortly, but Mr. George Williams is on the line from Gander. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, and I thank you so very kindly for taking my call.
Always.
First of all, Todd, I'd like to say you're making me jealous talking about the blue Himalayan poppies. I used to have them years ago, but I lost them.
Oh,
yeah. Well, they're finicky creatures. Like I said, I fuss over the ones. I've had them in my own garden. I've lost the ones in my own garden. I fuss over the ones at the botanical garden far more than I do my own.
First of all, I'd like to say that years ago, probably about 20 years ago, I planted a serviceberry, Saskatoon berry, and the birds used to go crazy. I could look out a lot of times. There'd be 20 and 30 birds going crazy in there. And the last several years, I've had that fungus on them.
Oh, okay.
And this year, I guess because Gander also has been super dry, really, really dry, worst I've ever seen it. And this year, I got no sign of the fungal disease.
Okay, and it's interesting because Adam was just showing me pictures down around Kitty Vitty of the Chuckley pears, service berries, Saskatoons, whatever you want to call them, down there, and they look clean. And normally the ones around Kitty Vitty and the ones up at Signal Hill, and there's a lot of them up that way, are just infested with that rust disease. So I need to take a quick dart now up to Signal Hill and see if the Chuckley pears are looking good up there this year. So maybe this dry condition is not so conducive to those.
Yeah, I guess there's pluses and minuses for every kind of weather conditions.
Well, and of course, the big problem too now is you might not have the rust, but if we don't get any rain, the berries are going to be very small. They're not going to swell up very much, right?
I have a few questions for you, Todd, please.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to ask you, I'm growing hot peppers, some jalapenos and cayenne peppers and that. Last year I had peppers this year, so like some things are behind, some things are doing well. Like, for instance, my impatience and not doing as good this year as normally would do. But I was curious about the hot peppers. Should you be pruning these and also like picking the suckers off like tomatoes and actually prune them or topping them, cutting the tops off?
I grow jalapenos and the chili peppers up at the garden. I don't do anything with them. I just let them do their own thing.
Right.
Okay, so they stay nice and bushy, and right now they're full of flowers. I'm very hopeful that I'm going to get a decent crop this year.
Right. Good one. I'll tell you now, one of my friends got a little bit of a problem. He got a laburnum. Now, I think that most of the ones that were laburnums, the golden chains around Gander, are alpinum. I think some of the ones you got in St. John's are the Vasi variety. I think the Vasi, maybe they have a single trunk as opposed to more common on the laburnum. Alpinum is a multi-trunk. Anyway, one of the ones that my friend got, it's got like 5 trunks on it, and it's about 6 feet away from a fire hydrant, and they dug up the fire hydrant and replaced it, and 4 of the trunks on this laburnum is totally dead.
Wow.
There's one that still looks normal. What do you think? What do you suggest the best thing to do?
At this stage, they can cut off the dead sections. They're not coming back, and just basically hope for the best. I mean, laburnums are somewhat, they're somewhat short-lived. They can get different cankers and stuff like that can get into them as well. I find the Vasi is not as bad because it's only got the single trunk, as you mentioned. Again, a lot of that too has to do with the suppliers, the people who are growing them. Oftentimes will keep them back just one trunk because that's more aesthetically pleasing. I think the thing with Vasi as well is I believe it might be sterile, whereas the alpinum sets seed all over God's creation. But anyway, so anything that's dead on those now, it's not coming back. Just prune that out, and hopefully the damage that was done to the roots wasn't so severe that the section that's still alive now won't continue to live.
Yeah, these are about 10 feet tall, so you cut down like the 4 that is dead, just cut them right to the ground?
Cut them right down to the ground. In fact, if there's one stem that's looking good and the other one's a bit and the other ones are dead, I would prune them all out except for the one good one, and then basically at that point then you can train it with a single trunk.
Right, yeah, there's only one that the other 4 looks totally dead.
Yeah, okay, well then I would just prune that and bring it down to just a single trunk.
Listen, mentioned sterol. I'm just wondering now, are Million Bells Calabicola sterol?
I know you can purchase... No, you don't purchase them by seed. You usually get those as young plants, and I think they tissue culture those. So maybe they are sterile.
So anything that's sterile, any like flowers, annuals, and that's sterile, you wouldn't have to deadhead them as opposed to ones that are not sterile, right?
That's right. But the only thing is, like, say, if you're purchasing them from a nursery, you can't purchase the seed because if they're sterile, then they have to be propagated by tissue culture or cuttings or whatever the case may be, yeah.
Like buying a red delicious apple.
Yeah, same idea.
Right. Finally, I'd just like to let you know, I just recently discovered that majority of earthworms in Canada are invasive species and are detrimental to the ecosystem.
I know they're not native. How detrimental they are around here, I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence of them being a problem here in Newfoundland. I'm not sure what their problem is on the mainland.
Yeah, well, from what I've seen, it sounds like not so much in Newfoundland, but it says probably more so for the boreal forest is that where it's got such a weak, low, small soil, organic matter soil.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Because I mean, the earthworms are feeding on the organic material, so if we have very little organic to start with, then that could be problematic, certainly.
And they're out competing the native species.
Yeah. Well, that's typically what happens with a lot of introduced things. They end up out competing our native stuff because they don't have the natural predators here, so their populations just build up too much.
Right. Thank you so very kindly. Always a pleasure, and happy gardening, everyone.
Thanks, George. Happy gardening.
Thank you.
Didn't know that about worms. There you go. Here's a couple of emails. Oh, here's one we got from Debbie from Bay Roberts. First of all, first line is fantastic. Hi, love listening and re-listening to the show. So, folks, do like Debbie does. Listen and re-listen. Tell your friends. Where was I? Oh, yes. Debbie was saying how she loves re-listening to the show. Her question. RE transplanting at this time of year. I've grown some cotton Easter hedge seedlings for 2 years. I want to transplant them. Is it too late to do this now? Should I wait till next year? What's the best time? Do I need to add fertilizer or bone meal, etc.? Okay, so best time if she can wait till next spring. I always like to transplant in the spring, regardless, especially if it's a woody plant, right? So the Cotoneaster is going to be a woody plant. So I'd like to do that in the spring. Alternatively, it can be done in the fall as well. Right? You certainly wouldn't do it now. Any kind of woody material, you don't want to be transplanting at this time of year. Now, if you're buying it from a nursery and it's already in a pot, that's not a big deal. You just pop it out of the pot, pop it into the ground. Just make sure you keep lots of water to it because the ground is like dust. Yeah. Okay? But otherwise, if she's moving them from point A to point B, do it in the fall or wait till the spring. Right. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Here's one from Fred. Hi, guys. What is the best fertilizer I should add to my batch of cherry-style tomato plants? At the garden, I don't use much of anything because we just use compost for the most part. If you were going to use some fertilizer, I would say 20-20-20, like the Miracle Grow type of stuff. You could actually use, I think there might be a 10-15-10. Ideally, what you want for tomatoes is something that's highest in the middle number. Okay, so your middle number is good for fruit and for flowers, and that's what we're looking for on our tomatoes. So this is why if you can find 10-15-10, that's even better than the 20-20-20. But I certainly wouldn't be using like a high nitrogen fertilizer, so something like a 30-10-10, say, for instance, fine for your lawn, but you'll just drive your tomatoes with all leaves and no fruit. Okay, which is just not what you want. No. So 20-20 is a nice balanced fertilizer, what we consider a balanced fertilizer. It's got everything there that you want. But if you can find one that's a little bit higher in the middle number, that's even better for the tomatoes. Fred also sent us a note about Chuckley pears on the hill are pretty good right now, he says. Oh, good, good. Because I'm telling you, the last 2 years, certainly maybe longer than that, but they were just, the ones at Signal Hill were just horrid, absolutely horrid. So yeah, I should go up to the hill and check them out too, because like we walk, I'm living down in Kitty Vitty, so we walk the lake all the time. Well, up around the Geo Center, that's Chuckley pear heaven up there. Right. But the last few years, they've just been devastated with that rust. Yeah. Okay. So they've been looking great around the lake. I mean, like you saw in the picture before the show I showed you. But then, and you're talking about rain-wise, right? A little bit of this today.
Yeah, I don't know if this will, it's hardly enough to do anything.
Yeah.
But, a lot of times, too, when it comes to rust diseases, you don't necessarily need a lot of moisture in order for it to spread. And usually rust diseases, I mean, there's another alternate host. So if the rust is not getting into Chuckley pears this year, it's probably something going on with its host plant because it attacks the host plant earlier in the season and then goes into the Chuckley pears at this time of year as the fruit are starting to develop. And I can't recall who the alternate host is. So it might be something going on with that plant that's preventing the fungus from getting into the Chuckley pears at this point. Because rust diseases are very complicated fungal issues.
Oh, I listened to a podcast a little while ago about the scientist who developed for getting rust out of wheat, and it was this done down in Mexico. And I'm going to try to find this for you because it's fascinating.
Well, my memory serves, one of the alternate hosts for wheat rust is barberry.
Right.
And of course, a lot of us have barberry hedges.
Yeah.
Right. So CFIA actually banned the sale of barberry in Canada for a number of years for that reason, because they were an alternate host for the wheat rust. But as it turned out, it was only one specific species of barberry that was the alternate host, and which is a European species, I think Barbarus vulgaris. Whereas most of the ones that we grow as an ornamental, which is Berberis thunbergii, is a Japanese. And that one is not a host for the wheat rust. So it took a long time and a lot of convincing for CFIA to lift the ban on that particular species of barberry such that it could be made available for sale again. So yes, you can buy barberry now, but you can't buy Berberis vulgaris because that's the one who is the alternate host. So that one's banned. But the Berberis thunbergii you can purchase.
The name is Norman, Norman, Borlaug, Borlaug, whose work focused on developing high-yielding, disease-resistant wheat varieties. And the story, he was like down in Mexico, like breeding wheat by himself. Wow, it's a fascinating story, and did it by hand.
Wow!
In like this hot condition, and like it took like a long period of time.
Wow, I can imagine.
But it kind of changed, like for the yield of wheat. Globally.
Okay, so in his case, then he was breeding for wheat that was resistant to the rust. As opposed to just getting rid of the other.
No, he bred a whole new type of wheat.
Right,
and
gotcha.
So that's the Norman Borlaug, folks. Look him up. It's just a fascinating story. We got one more note here from Sheila. Chuckley pears are doing great in Musgrave Town this year after weeks of drought. It's been pouring for hours today. Very grateful. That is so great to hear.
Right on.
Rain coming down.
Oh, please send some here.
And send some this
send
way
a little
too.
bit. You're going to spare a little bit for St. John's.
Folks, this is The Signal. It's gardening day. It's Tuesday in the summer, so every Tuesday, right, we sit down, we talk gardening, we take we give, the experts in, right, Todd Boland in this case, they give tips. We like to hear your grow season updates. How are things doing? If you've got questions for us, you want to join the discussion, 709-722-7111. 1-800-563-8255. You can text us, 709-327-8206, thesignal@cbc.ca. I showed you another picture. The maple tree is doing funny, the leaves rolling up. What's up? So that was a Rainey's River Trail, by the way.
Right, okay. One of the most common insect pests, I guess, that get into maples, but they get into a bunch of different trees here on the province, not just in St. John's, are leaf rollers. And leaf rollers turn into a very nondescript little tiny moth. You'll see them fluttering around your lights in the evenings. But cosmetically, it doesn't look very pretty when you see all these leaves all curled up. And if you uncurl them, you'd find a little green grub on the inside. If you have a small tree, you can give it a shot with BT. Yeah. Okay, because BT is a biological control. Just specifically for caterpillars and nothing else. So it won't bother the bees, it won't bother your pets, it won't bother you. All right? And it's just a liquid, comes in a little bottle. You just dilute the liquid in the amount of water that they tell you on the directions, and then it's sprayed in your tree. And what happens is actually a type of bacteria. And then as the insect is feeding on the leaves, it'll ingest the bacteria at the same time, and the bacteria is fatal to them. right? So they end up basically dying of a bacterial disease. But it's a very specific bacteria that only affects caterpillars. So it will not affect, on the other hand, sawflies. Right. And sawfly larvae look very much like a caterpillar. The difference is that sawflies usually feed in colonies, whereas the caterpillars feed individually. Sawflies feed out in the open; they don't curl up inside the leaves. Okay, and you know they'll attack certain plants like gooseberries, and you wake up one morning, your gooseberry doesn't have a leaf left on it. It's because like overnight, practically, it's been stripped clean of its leaves from the sawflies. And as I mentioned, they breed in colonies, but because they look like caterpillars, people think, oh, I can spray them with BT and it'll take care of it, but it'll have no effect on them because they turn into a fly. Yeah. Okay, so it's not the same thing at all. So, but yeah, leaf rollers. If it's small, if it's big, leave it be. It is. I mean, it's just a cosmetic problem. It's not going to really cause any serious harm to the tree.
Yeah, I was like on a run. I was like, what is going on? I was like, I know who to ask. Todd's
there you go.
On Tuesday.
And the thing is, what's going to be interesting to see this year, if it happens, because it should be happening pretty soon, is that tar spot disease that gets into the maples, right? And so you'll probably start to see that turning up soon. But again, maybe with the drier conditions, it may not be prevalent this year. Who knows, right? It's still it's sort of any day now we should start to see the first symptoms of that black spot or a tar spot because usually it's late August, early September when that reaches its peak. But again, it's a cosmetic problem. It doesn't do any major harm to the tree.
All right. I haven't seen any yet, so I'll be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, no, I haven't noticed any either. And we did have a few spots in our red maples last year at the garden. But right now, touch wood, the maples look fine.
Oh, the queue is growing. Here we are talking, and let's see. We've got Shannon's on the line from Middle Cove. Hi.
Hi. I had a question about some fruit trees. I planted them. I think this is their fourth year in the ground. I've had a few. I have apple and pear and some cherry. I've had a few over the years. I never give them a big pruning yet because I said I'd let them get established first. They have nice big holes. I have a little mini excavator, so there's lots of big hole dug, lots of good compost, that stuff. But the moose have really decimated it, especially over the winter.
Yep.
So I kind of had a bit of a look at what I wanted to prune and was thinking about it, and then they got it, so I didn't do anything this year. But everything is very compact into the tree now, and I'm just wondering what might be the best approach for pruning now come to the fall.
Well, number one, you're going to have to try to protect those trees this winter again because that moose is going to be back, more than likely.
Yeah, I now have an electric fence.
Oh, well, there you go. Your way.
That'll do it.
I mean, we have moose up in the garden. Rabbits are worse. But the vegetable garden up this year, I actually had put chicken wire right around the entire garden to keep the rabbits out because I plant and the next day the plants were gone.
Wow.
Right? And again, something I never had to do for 20 years. So don't let anyone tell you the rabbit populations are down because they're not. Okay, the rabbits, we are, and come up to the garden. If you're looking for a rabbit, come to the garden. We have lots to give away. Meanwhile, back to your moose scenario. Keep an eye. The main problem is going to happen now is you're probably going to get multiple branches popping out now after this really heavy moose pruning. And fruit trees should be kept fairly open, right? You want good air circulation to get through there to cut down any kind of fungal issues that get into the leaves or get onto the fruit. So I would think, and it's hard for me to say because I need to really see the tree to be able to tell you exactly what needs to be done. But essentially, any place where there's like 2 or 3 branches or more growing out in a very close area, I would thin them down just a single branch. Okay, and you want to have your branches fairly evenly distributed around the circumference of the tree. Okay, so that you're not getting a lot of branches just on one side of the tree versus the other side.
Okay. I've seen some people where in smaller gardens they put up a couple of posts on either end of a string of trees and run like heavier gauge wire and fasten the branches onto it almost like you would against the wall.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, well, you're almost sounding almost like a espalier type of a scenario. Now, usually espaliers, you got a fruit tree growing right up against the wall of a house, and then you basically train it to be like a fan shape or whatever, or but it becomes a very two-dimensional tree up against the wall of the house. I haven't seen that so much out in the open, right? Not that you couldn't do it, but I would say it'd be more problematic because you got light coming at the tree from all directions, and then the branches are going to want to grow in all directions. When it's up against a house, it can only grow basically outwards, and then it's a matter of pruning the branches so the branches just become two-dimensional, right?
Okay. How far, how much spacing between will each terrace of branches should you want to be aiming for?
Again, without seeing the tree, when you're in an orchard, a lot of the framework of the branches are oftentimes maybe like no more than like a foot apart or so. You don't want them too close together. If you can do it, I would probably have the branches spaced around a foot or so, or at least certainly 8 or 9 inches apart, rather than having like two branches. Now, if they're opposite each other on the tree, they can be opposite each other on the same level. But if you have two branches coming out on the same side, they should have, probably 8 or 9 inches between the two branches for sure.
What about at the 90? Should you keep them the 4 all the way around at roughly the same side, or should you stagger them coming up and down the 4 sides, we'll say?
Well, you should only have 1 leader.
Okay. When you're coming up the main leader and you say you have 2 going off to the left and right, and then what about then to the front and back? Would you want, and I know that's in perfectly symmetrical, they won't be that, but roughly at the different levels.
Yeah, well, like I said, the whole idea is you want to have your tree to be more or less evenly shaped. So you want your branches, generally they say not to have any more than probably 4 to 6 main lateral branches on a fruit tree. Okay, so like you said, thin them down to no more than 6 lateral branches. Those lateral branches should be evenly distributed as best you can right around the trunk of that tree, such that so the tree is what we call balanced. Now, in a nursery, of course, or in an orchard, they'll often top the trees once they reach a certain height, in which case then you're removing your leader so the tree doesn't get any taller.
Is that beneficial for fruit production?
But the orchards are doing it, so I wouldn't think they'd be doing it if it was going to be detrimental to the tree.
Right.
Right.
Is there a height that sort of you look to top of that?
Again, it depends on what variety you see, because apple trees in particular, they could be grafted onto a standard. It could be a semi-dwarf. Semi-dwarfs are going to be kept lower than a standard. Standards are usually no more than about 18 feet. Okay, so I wouldn't let my fruit trees really get much higher than 18 feet. And in fact, I would probably keep them shorter because that makes it easier for you for harvesting.
We still got a ways to go before we get to 18 feet.
Well, there you go.
All right, well, perfect. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, thanks, Shannon. All right, Shannon calling us from Middle Cove there. Let's stay on the phones. Frank is on the line from Mount Pearl. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well, and so is my moss.
Well, people...
Wait, is your moss... Do we have the same backyard, Frank? Because my moss is doing great, too.
Not only moss, but I got one of every variety of weed known to mankind. All in my front lawn.
So you know what I'm going to say to you.
What?
I'm going to say, get rid of the whole heck. Get rid of your lawn altogether and start from scratch.
Okay, now, my question is this. How effective is lime? I've been told that if you lime it enough, it'll go away.
No.
No? Okay, good.
No.
Now, here's my solution to it now. Some years ago, I got some landscape fabric, and I put it down in areas around my property where I didn't want anything to grow. Mm-hmm. It is very effective. Mm-hmm. And I put stone on top of it, 3/4-inch gray stone, because I didn't want to have to mow it. Now, I've been thinking if I spread fabric cloth right on top of what's there, covered it with a healthy layer of topsoil, and seeded it, what would it do?
Well, I think in the long term, number one, how sunny is this area? Very sunny, and yet you got moss. So if you have moss in a sunny area, it means you have no soil. It's basically because grass needs some soil, at least 6 inches, in order to grow properly. Moss will grow on pure rock, right? Yeah. So chances are, if you got moss on a sunny embankment or sunny lawn, then your soil is just too shallow for the grass to be supported.
Okay.
Right? Because normally people have problems with moss in the shade, right? But if it's in the sun, it's a different scenario. Okay.
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 Yeah.
So
that
if you're
makes sense because there's probably not a lot of topsoil there.
Right. Okay. And of course, weeds will grow in pure gravel as well, right? So
right.
So that's fine, dandy.
Yeah.
Now, so if you brought down 6 inches of soil and put that over your landscape fabric, my only concern is that grass roots, if they're happy, will grow deeper than 6 inches. In this case, they can only reach down to that fabric, and then they can't go any further. Weeds, on the other hand, will still be quite happy with 6 inches of soil. And any weeds in your neighborhood are still going to be blowing around their seeds, which could be reinfecting your area again. So
I wondered about that.
Right? So it's not, seeding a lawn is not the easiest thing in the world. In fact, you're far better if you can afford it to sod your lawn, because your sod, at least you're starting off with 100% grass, and it makes it more difficult then for moss and or weeds to get established if you already have good grass there. You already have a sunny site. So I think I would either throw the 6 inches of soil down on top of the ground that's there and then sod it, and more than likely that will smother any of the weeds that are there, because the weeds are not, for the most part, are not going to penetrate up through the sod, especially if you got 6 inches of soil thrown over them as well. Right?
Okay. So,
alternatively, before I finish this, is if you really want to make sure you don't have any weeds, you can hit it with Roundup first. Okay, that'll kill everything. Then you can put down your soil, then you can sod it, and I can guarantee you, if you got a sunny area, you should have a good lawn.
Roundup.
Now, a lot of people don't like to use Roundup, right? So, but I think it's still...
I'm desperate.
If you're desperate, then Roundup that'll kill everything. That'll kill everything outside. Well, it won't kill the moss, but it'll kill all the weeds. Then, like I said, you can just rake the moss off at that point. But I think the key to this equation is getting your 6 inches of topsoil down and then sod it. Because you're in a sunny area, I can almost guarantee you'll have a decent lawn.
Yeah. So in other words, the landscape fabric is a bad idea.
No, I don't. Landscape fabric is fine to put if you've got shrubs and you're going to put some mulch on top of that then to keep the weeds down. That's perfectly fine. I would not use landscape fabric underneath a lawn scenario. No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks,
Good
Frank.
luck. Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye.
All right. Yes, my backyard. I've got a push mower and with moss and like the little bit of grass that grows. It is quite the effort that needs to be put into dealing with that. Well,
my back lawn I used to have a beautiful lawn in the back, and I had a lot of clover, which was lovely. And I didn't have to mow it too often, but my neighbor's trees just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now my garden gets very little sun, and now I have a lawn of moss. So I just live with the moss.
Yeah, just do a Japanese type of a garden variety, right?
Have moss is still nice and soft to walk on.
Oh, look, I walk barefoot in my backyard. It's one of the as I try to, not with the push mower, but as I'm back there with the raised bed and stuff, it feels great underneath the feet. My inner granola.
So I mean, if you got shade, you got to go with the flow, right? And lawns will not grow in the shade for the most part, right?
Get mad at the tide coming in. You're just going to get wet if you stand up there. There you go. Right? Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
So your option is either to go with a ground cover, go with gravel, or live with the moss.
Gravel's not good.
I don't like gravel. No, it's not very nice to walk on gravel barefoot.
No, not fun. Karen's on the line from Logie Bay. Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Now, I got a question. I was listening to your kind of dialogue with the man about the laburnum tree.
Yep.
So we have an elderly friend of ours calls a Norwegian maple, which we took from his garden years ago.
Okay.
We actually have two on our front lawn. The back one is perfect. It's the one that's closer to the house. The front one is in an area of the lawn that was very wet. We had to remediate it. We had to put in a French drain. We had to do all kinds of stuff because it was like a bog in that part of the lawn.
Okay.
We have pruned the tree back. It is alive, but of course we got a lot of branches that got no leaves on the top.
Right.
So should we just prune those branches with no leaves off?
Yes.
And can do it now.
You can do it now because those branches are dead. Okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. And so prune those back till you got live wood. Prune it back till you got to where you actually do have leaves. Because any of this old dead wood that's left on the tree is a great place for diseases to take hold. So so anything that's dead on your tree now, just remove that altogether.
Thank you. I've been having this discussion with my husband, and he's reluctant to do it, but I think we got to do it.
Yeah.
The other
thing. Tell your husband we said you're right, Karen. So this is the main thing. You are right.
Other people have heard, you as well. Now he wouldn't be listening to CBC, but anyway, that's fine. So
work in progress.
Comment, yes, for sure. The other comment I'll make is about pests for your vegetables.
Okay.
Last year, first year ever, we had rats digging up our potatoes.
Whoa. Okay. Welcome to my world. Because last year was the first time we had rats in the garden, botanical garden, and they were digging up our potatoes.
Like, really and truly, how hard do you struggle to grow a potato? And then the rats are getting them. It was crazy.
Well, I'll go one step further. I know we're comparing stories. Last year, for the first time at the garden, I grew corn. And the corn grew fantastic. I was so impressed. I was like, wow, why didn't I grow this before? And every plant had 2 ears. Okay, well, it's not a lot, but still, we had two lovely ears of corn. And the first ear, when I harvest them, had corn borer. Like, where in the hell did corn borer come from in Newfoundland? I mean, it's a problem on the mainland, but we never ever grew corn anywhere near the garden for years, and yet corn borers found the corn. Anyway, then the second ear, the rats ate it, and they were so brazen. They were out in the middle of the day. We had visitors saying, "Oh my God, it's a rat in your corn!" Right? So, and the rats didn't care. They would just crawl up the stem of the corn. They ate all the second ears on each plant, and then when they left the corn, they went after the potatoes because the potato bed was right next to where the corn was growing.
Whoa. So, what do you do about rats at the botanical garden?
We use Rat-X.
Yeah,
we have no other choice. Right?
You use rat traps, which is what we did.
Yeah, no. Well, we use a rat bait.
Okay.
A poison
so you're
bait.
Using poison.
Yeah, we have no other choice because the rats are there and they're burrowing into the shrub beds and all that. That's where they're making their homes, and we have no other choice. So we actually have like little containers that are up there. We handmade them ourselves. Actually, they're made out of chicken wire with a coating of cement over, but the ends open, and then we put the rat bait inside that, and the rats can crawl through because it's almost like a little tunnel. And the rats will crawl through, pick up the bait, and go on out, and then they disappear.
Because that was
be seen again.
We put the traps out, and we did get, I don't know how many we got last year. It was, oh God, it was so disturbing. But we've got traps out again this year because we found the first evidence of the rats at the potatoes again.
Okay.
But I was reluctant to put out poison.
Yeah.
Right?
So the reason we put the poison out in that respect, now we don't have dogs up in the garden, right? I mean, other than certain Sundays, and that's people can walk their dogs in the garden on the first Sunday, I think, of each month. But they have to be on a leash. Yeah. Right? So, we don't have the bait anywhere where people will be walking their dogs, number one. But number two, because we have it covered, it, for the most part, is not picked up by any other kind of wildlife as well, right? It doesn't seem to get it. So the rats, they smell it out and they go and do their thing. So it works very effectively for that. But, we're trying our best to try to isolate it from any other wildlife that's up in the garden.
Yeah, because we're overrun with rabbits too, and they're all over the place. We have them all named and all that. But,
mine are not named. Well, other than Pest 1 and Pest 2.
Well, anyway, God love them. They're some cute. But it's the rats now, and that's so annoying when you've worked so hard, right? Anyway, we're going to have to probably go with the poison and figure out a way where other things can't get out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this year at the botanical garden, I put in chicken wire fence to keep the rabbits out, and that's worked very effectively. It will not keep out the rats, but touch wood, so far, I have not seen any evidence of the rats yet.
Well,
but
you
we'll
better
see.
look.
Oh, I
I'm
know.
telling you, it was yesterday that our grandson found the first one, and I said, "Oh, they're back."
Yeah. I mean, there's not even hardly any potatoes on your potato plants yet, so I'm not sure what
Well, I know.
You know,
because what they dug, like, it wasn't until September last year, and what they dug up, well, my husband must have taken it away because it was out on back day. It was a tiny little red potato, but you could see the marks where they were eating it. And last year they were digging up these huge, beautiful potatoes.
Yep, same thing for us too. And in fact, I always rotate the crops of the garden to cut down on diseases. So where I had the potatoes growing last year, this year I grew the garlic. So I harvested the potatoes. Well, I had no other choice because the rats and all mostly dug up. So I harvested potatoes in September and planted garlic in that same bed in October. And the rats went and burrowed into the bed. I figured, because I was picking up little garlic cloves on the top of the ground that the rats had dug up. Now, the rats weren't eating the garlic. They don't like garlic.
No, they don't want it. They don't want it.
But they were churning it all up. And I figured, oh, my gosh, this spring, the garlic in that bed is just going to be a mess, right? But surprisingly, I only actually had 2 plants that were missed.
Oh, pretty good.
All the rest of them still popped up where they were supposed to be. So that bed this year is all
anyway.
full of garlic, and so the rats won't be there. But the potatoes were just moved into the adjacent bed, so...
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that. I kind of felt like we needed to go in that direction, but you know how it is with putting out poison, right?
I know.
Anyway, thank you for this, and good luck with your rats.
Okay, you too.
All right, thanks for that.
Thanks, Karen. All right, we've got 2 more calls. We've got 9 minutes left in the show.
Okay.
2 calls to get through, plus like 3 texts and 3 emails.
Okay,
So,
wow.
Yeah, we'll pick up the pace. Tony Chubbs is on the line from Happy Valley Goose Bay. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Good here, John. There, Todd. Just a comment on your rats. We don't have rats here in Goose Bay, but we got redback voles. Of course, they do the same thing in the potato bed, and they also do it with the lily bulbs and stuff like that. But I snap trap them.
Okay.
Question on apple trees. So I've got fairly mature. They're Prairie Magics.
Okay.
Last year, not a real good crop. I got 3 trees, and I've got a ornamental crab for cross-pollination.
Okay.
This year, they flowered really well. I fertilized well. And just out of curiosity, I know we had a bad rain event when they were in full bloom and being pollinated, but there's lots of bees around. Mm-hmm. And each cluster of flowers, to me, it looked like after the petals had fallen off, it looked like all the fruit was fertilized so that it actually formed small apples about the size of your small fingernail, I guess.
Right.
Now, subsequent to this, and it happens most years, is it just a natural abortion that there's too many apples on there?
Exactly. Because we have 2 regular apples at the Botanical Garden, and we have a Dolgo crab apple, which is primarily the pollinator. Now, we have honeybees as well. And since we got the honeybees, we get such a heavy crop of apples, not so much on the Dolgo crab apple. That just seems to be even every year. But the regular apples now have such a heavy crop. And like you say, each cluster, you end up with 3 or 4 fruit being pollinated. And that's just too much. A tree can't tolerate that. Okay. So you'll get a natural fruit drop. In fact, if your tree is small enough you can get at it, I would have actually went out and thinned them out down to only just 1 fruit, because you'll get decent-sized fruit then. Because if you get 2 fruit in the 1 cluster, they're going to be medium-sized fruit. If the tree can support 3, they're going to be like 3 crab apples instead, right? Because all that energy's got to be spread for 3 apples as opposed to going into 1, right? So, but otherwise, I know in the nursery, or not in the nursery, in the orchards, they're not going to fuss like that, But in the orchards, the trees just have a natural fruit drop if their productivity is too much for the tree to handle.
Okay.
Yep.
One last question. Ornamental crab I got, there's really dark red leaves on it, produces, and just forgot what the name of it was.
Royalty? Thunderchild?
Its berry is very intensely red on the inside, almost purple red on the outside, and smaller than a marble.
Okay. There's so many ornamental ones on the market now, but I think I have seen the one you're referring to.
Yeah. Okay. Nope. Just say the name of it again?
There's some of the dark ones. One is called Royalty, and I think the other one's called Thunderchild.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Appreciate the advice and
no problem.
Like the pruning techniques there with the apple trees. I need to do a little bit of that myself too.
There you go.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, man.
John's on the line from Carbonear. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You guys have a great show going.
Thank you very much.
I just have a quick question. I'm new to gardening, second year in growing root vegetables and, whatever I can grow. With the dry weather that we've been having, how often should I or do I need to water these crops?
Yeah, well, so at the garden, I'm watering most of the veggies up there at least twice a week because we're just not getting the rain, right? Now I haven't been watering the potatoes. The potatoes seem to be okay. I think maybe twice this summer I've watered the potatoes, but things like the tomatoes and the peppers and the lettuce and the beans, I'm watering them at least twice a week. At least twice
when
a
you
week.
water them,
Yep.
because we do have a restriction on water out there, you have to use a hose. Like, how long should you water with a hose?
Well,
you got it on a spray.
Yeah. Okay. So, we're lucky at the Botanical Garden because we're tapping into Oxen Pond, right? So we're not using city water for that. So I can water till the cows come home, and it doesn't make any difference. Yeah. But if you're on restricted water, one thing you could do if you're putting a sprinkler on, like so, if you have your set time that you're allowed to put on your sprinkler, then put it like a shallow aluminum pan in amongst your veggies. Okay.
Right.
And then leave the sprinkler on until about an inch of water gathers into that pan. And that is, because what you want is about an inch of water once a week on your veggies, really, to keep them happy, right? So you can use that shallow pan, like a pie pan, to keep track of when you have about an inch of water that's been spread over your garden.
Yeah, that's great advice. Unfortunately, they were advising not to use a sprinkler, so I just had to use the hose.
Oh, well, if you're
and it's hard to know.
Yeah, well, what you got to do in that case then is just sort of stand up in the area, go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, stick your finger down into the soil, and, if the soil underneath is still like dust, then, keep going back and forth, standing up. That's what I'm doing all day long at the garden up there.
Okay.
And, but then, what you could do is like water it, then go off to like water another area garden, come back to the area that you watered like a half hour or an hour beforehand, and then just test the soil again and see is there any moisture there. And if it seems like the soil is dark and it seems to be reasonably moist, then you're off, off to the races. If it still seems like bone dry, you're going to have to go back and hand water again.
Right on. Okay. Yep. I appreciate the advice, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Cheers. All right, rapid fire time. Here we go. Email from Juanita, 3 questions. I'm growing lettuce for the first time in a raised bed outdoors. It looks pretty big and like I could harvest soon. Do you have any advice for how often to harvest, when I should harvest the lettuce? Also, how quickly will it grow back? I was surprised by how initially it grew from full seed to a head of lettuce.
Yeah, so I keep thinning the lettuce. So when I sow the lettuce in a row, now you can harvest the ones in between, right? And you just throw them into a salad. They're still relatively small. And then your other ones that are left keep getting bigger, and then thin them out again as they keep getting bigger and bigger until at the end of the season, when you want your big, huge heads of lettuce, they're probably close to being 9 to 12 inches apart, right? I don't pluck off the leaves and leave the plant. I pull up the entire plant,
right?
All right, and then just like I'm thinning them out then as I go. And then, like I said, as the season progresses, eventually I'll end up getting my 9 to 12 inch space between each individual plant.
We have several fruit-bearing trees bushes on our property, but we recently purchased the property and don't know much about how to care for these trees. What should we be doing now to ensure we get fruit on our cherry and apple trees? I'm worried the birds might be eating the cherries and our strawberries, but we recently put some mesh over them and they seem to be doing better now.
Yeah, you just got to keep an eye on for that kind of stuff when it comes to the birds and whatever going into your strawberries and your fruit. Otherwise, chances are a lot of fruit trees, you just plant them, they just do their own thing. If they're still young trees, then you can get them a shot with like either a granular 6-12-12 in the spring of the year, just when the buds are starting to break, and that'll help the tree produce more, get maximum productivity.
And so they also, there's bushes, they think there might be Saskatoon berries. Could they be mistaken for something that they shouldn't eat? And how do they know for sure they're Saskatoons?
There's no easy answer to that without seeing a picture.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other kind of fruit tree that's out there that would have fruit like a Saskatoon that would be poisonous. I don't think there's very few larger fruit-bearing shrubs or trees here in Newfoundland that are poisonous for the most part. So, basically you'll have a purple, when it's ripe, it'll have a purple fruit and you'll see a little crown on the end of it. If there's no crown, then I may be a little bit more suspicious, but certainly with a Saskatoon, you'd have that little crown at the end of the fruit, which is pretty distinctive.
Pest control for red ants?
Ooh, boron.
All right.
Boron is so just go to your nursery and garden center and try to find insecticide with boron in it.
Last question for the day. Beautiful black elder, 15 feet high, wrong place on the property. Can it be moved successfully? You've got 10 seconds.
Not till the fall of the year or next spring.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for this.
No problem.
And
it was not boron, it was borax. Sorry.
Borax for the ants. Borax for the ants.
Yes.
All right, folks, that is it for the show. We are out of time. Tune in tomorrow. Don't miss it. Cheers. Bye.